Why is depression so common in the present day? Even allowing for more accurate diagnoses than in the past, it appears that rates of depression are significantly on the rise. And this was true even before COVID-19, but appears to have been made much worse by it. I do not know all the reasons why, but I will offer 4 observations in addition to the effects and isolation of a pandemic. Number 1, society's messaging. The messages that surround us about success, purpose, and value are not new, but they've never traveled faster, and perhaps rarely traveled with such dogmatic certainty as they do now. Society paints an illusory image of what success looks like to ensure that we are all jealous of someone else. Purpose is tied to transient things like money, beauty, and social media followings. Ironically, so many of the people who have these very things in abundance are not all that happy. And what about value? What gives you value? A morally decayed world flails aimlessly in its efforts to answer that question, whereas a young primary child can answer the question easily by singing, "I am a child of God." Vague notions like the size of your investment portfolio or the number of popular people who like you completely miss the mark. If success and value are based on how many popular people like you, then at the time of his death, Jesus of Nazareth would have been one of the least successful people of all time. But Jesus did not fail, and neither need you. Your value and my value come not because of the things that the world pays attention to. Our value comes because we are the offspring of God. Number 2, digital media and hay. As an introvert, I have observed that some people feel a much greater need for socialization than others. I imagine as though everyone has a social bucket and they are happy when their bucket is full. Some of us have a small bucket, but still need some social engagement or we feel empty. Others have a large bucket. Some have a titanic bucket with holes in it and are desperately seeking contact with other human beings because their bucket is never full. In the 21st century, in much of the world, we physically isolate ourselves. We don't know our neighbors like people used to. We rarely talk with friends face to face, and most of our interaction with other humans is electronic. And that was true before the pandemic. Have you ever noticed that you think and feel about a person differently if you've looked them in the eyes versus if they are just a voice on the phone or an anonymous driver in another car? We are social creatures, and we crave social interaction. When we socialize mostly or entirely through ones and zeros, it appears to me that we are feeding our social needs like the metaphorical deer who starved to death with a belly full of hay. They ate, but what they ate did not nourish. Number 3, fracturing support networks. In the past, most people lived with extended family. This is increasingly uncommon today in many parts of the world. In the past, people often attended regular religious services with dear friends and interacted with other people in the marketplace. Now, worship services in many places are commercialized and no more personal than a sports stadium, and shopping is reduced to clicking a button. As a result, the work of everyday life, the things that the media does not glamorize, raising children, washing dishes, doing laundry, etc., 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 are borne by 1 or 2 people where in the past they were borne by many. We may unrealistically expect that we can do what our predecessors did and more, but with fewer resources. Do more with less is a myth, not a goal. We're losing our sense of community. It has been said that it takes a village to raise a child. Now we wonder why we struggle when we don't have a village. I am a firm believer in the value of extended family, in spending time with other people who can commiserate with whatever your 2-year-old did today, and forming strong friendships. Some of us live thousands of miles from family. This does not mean all hope is lost. I have found strength in creating our own extended family through church and friends as well. But a strong friendship isn't just smiling and saying hi. How do you know who your good friends are? I have a separate video, The Parable of the Polar Bear, that discusses this in detail. For now, ask this question. Is this a friend who is not afraid to disagree with me? Is this a friend who cares enough to tell me what I don't want to hear? All of us need such friends. Number 4, physical activity. I certainly cannot speak for everyone, but my own experience, and that of those I have observed, is that a lack of physical activity is often detrimental to our emotional health. Getting up and doing something is hard, especially if we do not want to do literally anything at all. But this significant effort can make a significant difference. We live at a time when people have the ability to live life with considerably less physical activity than past generations, and this can have unintended negative effects. My thoughts here are certainly not a substitute for qualified professional help, which I highly recommend. But I hope that these observations will be helpful in recognizing and responding to people's needs. And perhaps they may also provide one more reason why, when someone struggles with mental illness, our response should be one not of revulsion, but of compassion.